She was already standing there when I turned onto the dirt road after being gone for 3 long years. The cabin still sat exactly where I had left it, weathered but solid, tucked between the trees. But the porch and the pines weren't what caught my eye first. It was her. A blonde woman in a soft pastel sweater stood right at the gate, holding up a bright orange "No Trespassing" sign like she'd just won a prize. She hammered it into my fence post, then spun around sharply, wearing the kind of expression someone saves for catching a criminal in the act. "Excuse me?" she shouted before I'd even shut off my engine. "You can't be here. This property is under HOA protection. Leave immediately before I call the police." I laughed not because it was amusing, but because the nerve of it all was almost impressive. "Lady, this is my land," I said. "I built that cabin with my own hands. Who are you supposed to be?" Her eyes narrowed into thin slits. "Don't play stupid with me. I'm the president of the association now. According to our bylaws, this land is restricted. That cabin doesn't even belong to you anymore." That's when I noticed the neighbors. A small crowd had gathered behind her, murmuring quietly like they'd been waiting for front row seats. Some looked uncomfortable, others entertained. An older man shook his head and muttered, "Here we go," under his breath. I walked closer, gravel crunching beneath my boots. "So you thought it was okay to put signs on my property without asking me?" She smirked and crossed her arms. "Your permission? Honey, you don't get a say. You abandoned this place. I've been managing it. And if you don't leave right now, I'll have law enforcement remove you." A slow heat spread through my chest, but instead of blowing up, I said one sentence that stopped her cold. "Go ahead, call them. Let's see what happens when the actual owner answers the door." She already had her phone out before I finished speaking, stabbing the screen with trembling fingers while making sure everyone could hear. "Yes, this is an emergency," she announced loudly. "There's a trespasser on my property. He's armed and aggressive." I froze. Armed? Aggressive? I hadn't even raised my voice. She was rewriting reality right in front of everyone. The neighbors shifted uneasily, but nobody spoke up. "That's a false report," I said evenly, though my jaw was tight. "You know that's illegal, right?" She waved me off like I was nothing. "We'll see who's breaking the law when the cops arrive. Enjoy your last few minutes of freedom." Instead of arguing, I walked past her and unlatched my gate. She gasped and jumped back like I'd pulled a gun. "What do you think you're doing?" she shrieked. "Going home," I replied, stepping past the freshly nailed signs. They looked ridiculous against the old cedar posts I'd set years ago with my own hands. Every one of them screamed, her control, not mine. The crowd parted as I headed toward the cabin, their eyes burning into my back, some curious, some uneasy. My fingers twitched, wanting to rip the signs down, but I resisted. I wanted witnesses when the truth surfaced. Karen followed me, her voice growing louder and sharper. "You can't ignore me. This cabin isn't yours anymore. The HOA legally seized it." I stopped on the porch steps and turned slowly. "Funny thing about the law," I said calmly, meeting her stare. "It works a lot better when people tell the truth." That's when the distant wail of a siren cut through the mountain air. It grew louder, bouncing off the trees, until a sheriff's cruiser rolled up the gravel road. Karen straightened instantly, like she'd just summoned reinforcements. She rushed toward the car, arms waving. "Officer, over here. Arrest him before he runs." The deputy stepped out, one hand near his holster, eyes scanning everything. "What's happening here?" he asked. Karen pointed straight at me. "That man is trespassing on private property. He threatened me and refuses to leave. I want him removed immediately." The deputy looked at me. "Sir, is that accurate?" "No, deputy," I said steadily. "This is my land, my cabin, my deed. I just got back after 3 years, and she's been putting fake signs on my property." Karen let out a sharp, mocking laugh. "Oh please. He abandoned it. The HOA took control. I'm the president, and I have every right to keep him out." The deputy raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, this county doesn't recognize HOA authority on private land outside city limits." Her confidence flickered for a moment, then hardened. "He's lying. Check the records." The deputy nodded. "That's exactly what I'll do. He stepped aside and spoke into his radio, reading off the parcel number. Everything went quiet. Karen crossed her arms, but her jaw twitched. She was nervous. I leaned against the porch railing and spoke calmly. "You sure you want to keep pushing this, Karen? Because when those records come back, this isn't going to end well for you." Her smirk faltered, but she stayed silent. The radio crackled. "Confirmed. Property deed is still in the name of..." My full name echoed through the clearing. Every head turned toward her. The deputy faced Karen. "Looks like this land belongs to him. Care to explain?" She forced a laugh. "That paperwork must be outdated. I filed claims through the HOA. He abandoned it, so it reverted to community control." The neighbors shifted. One man muttered, "That's not how that works." I pulled a folded document from my jacket and held it up. "Updated deed. Taxes paid. Recorded last month. Want to argue with county records?" Her face drained of color, but she pointed at me anyway. "He forged that. He threatened me. He's dangerous." The deputy's voice sharpened. "Did anyone witness this threat?" Silence. Then a woman in a wide-brimmed hat spoke up. "He didn't threaten her. He just said it was his land." Karen snapped at her. "You don't know what you heard." But the deputy had already stepped closer to Karen. "Ma'am, filing a false report is serious. Posting fake notices on someone else's property is trespassing, possibly fraud." Her hands shook. "I was protecting the neighborhood. He doesn't deserve this land." I didn't need to say a word. The deputy watched her closely, waiting. And then another cruiser rolled up, gravel crunching beneath its tires. When the door opened, my chest tightened. It wasn't just another officer. It was Sheriff Daniels himself, the man I hadn't seen in years. He stepped out slowly, adjusting the brim of his hat, and the crowd instinctively shifted back like they could sense something heavy was about to happen. Karen's face lit up instantly, like she'd just hit the jackpot. She rushed toward him, her voice high and triumphant. "Sheriff, thank God you're here. Arrest this man immediately. He broke onto my property and tried to intimidate me. I'm the HOA president, and I demand protection." The sheriff didn't even glance her way. His eyes locked onto me across the yard, and for a long moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Then he exhaled, shook his head slightly, and said, "Well, be damned. I figured you weren't ever coming back." Karen froze mid-step. "Wait, you know him?" Only then did the sheriff turn to her, his expression hard and unamused. "Know him? Ma'am, he's the rightful owner of this land. I've hunted with his family since I was a kid. His father left him this cabin fair and square." A ripple of murmurs moved through the crowd. Karen's confidence cracked, but she made one last desperate push. "Sheriff, you can't take his side just because you're friends. He abandoned this place. That makes it community property. The HOA has authority here." Sheriff Daniels' voice cut through the air like steel. "Let me make this perfectly clear. HOA rules stop where private deeds begin. You've been trespassing, harassing residents, and filing false police reports. And if I find even one forged document tied to those signs you posted, you'll be in cuffs before sundown." The color drained from Karen's face. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Behind her, the neighbors started whispering louder now, some even laughing quietly as her power evaporated in real time. I stayed silent, letting it sink in. Then the sheriff added, twisting the knife just a little deeper, "And you should consider yourself lucky. If he wanted to press charges right now, he'd be well within his rights." Karen's mouth fell open. For the first time since I'd arrived, she had no answer. The words hung heavy in the air. Her lips trembled, but pride wouldn't let her fully collapse. She squared her shoulders, her voice sharp, but noticeably weaker. You can't just let him take over. Do you know how long I've been protecting this place? Keeping people out, making sure it stayed decent." I cut her off. "Protecting it? You mean hammering trash signs onto my fence and scaring off anyone who came near? That's not protecting, Karen. That's stealing." That finally broke the dam. The neighbor spoke up. The older man from earlier shook his head. "He's right. We told you over and over this wasn't your land. You just kept saying the HOA had power here." A younger couple nodded quickly. "She told us if we didn't follow HOA rules, we'd lose access to the lake. We didn't want trouble, so we stayed quiet. Sheriff Daniel's jaw tightened. Is that true? He asked Karen, his tone low and dangerous. Her mask slipped completely. I did what I had to. Somebody needed to be in charge. If he wasn't here, then it was my responsibility. This valley would have fallen apart without me. I stepped down from the porch, every eye tracking my movement. My boots hit the dirt as I stopped in front of her. Karen, this land, this cabin isn't just property. It's my family's legacy. I pointed at the orange sign still nailed to the post. And you tried to erase it just so you could play Queen of the Valley. The sheriff cleared his throat. I think I've heard enough. Karen, this is your final warning. Take those signs down, apologize, and leave this man's property, or you're going in the back of my cruiser right now. Her bravado finally shattered. Her hands shook as she searched for words that never came. The crowd had fully turned on her. Every stare was heavy with judgment. Before she could respond, a deputy leaned in and whispered something to the sheriff. His brows furrowed. He turned back to Karen slowly. Interesting. Care to explain why? The HOA account you've been running has been collecting money from these neighbors without any legal registration? A collective gasp swept through the crowd. Karen went pale. What? That's a mistake. The HOA is real. It's official. The deputy cut her off, holding up a small folder. We checked the state registry. There is no HOA here. No filings. No authority. Which means every dollar you collected, he paused, was fraud. The neighbors exploded with anger. You took thousands from us. You said it was for road repairs. You made us pay for your new gate. Karen spun toward them, panicked. No, that money was for community projects. I was keeping you safe. But no one believed her anymore. The young couple stepped forward, furious. We gave you half our savings because you said the county would fine us. You lied. The sheriff rested his hand on his belt. Ma'am, got more than enough to arrest you. Fraud. Impersonation of authority. Harassment. False police reports. Want me to keep going? Her eyes darted desperately, but there was no help coming. I stepped closer and met her gaze. This didn't have to happen. You could have left my land alone. You wanted power, and now you're losing everything. The sheriff nodded to his deputy. Cuff her. Karen backed away, shaking her head. No, you can't do this. I am the HOA. The crowd laughed bitter, sharp laughter. Her kingdom of lies collapsed in seconds. As the cuff snapped shut, she shot me one last look of defiance. This isn't over, she hissed. No one replied. The deputy led her to the cruiser. The door slammed. One neighbor turned to me quietly. We should have spoken up sooner. I shook my head. What matters is it ends today. The sheriff tipped his hat. Welcome home. I ripped the orange sign from my fence, snapped it in half, and tossed it aside. This land was mine yesterday, it's mine today, and no one's taking it again. As the cruisers rolled away and the sun dipped behind the trees, I looked at my cabin and knew the truth. This wasn't just about land. It was about standing your ground. Freedom isn't given, it's defended.